You are listening to Punisher Waterfowls, the Union 0430 podcast. Brought to you by Real Geese Silhouette Decoys, the most technologically advanced silhouette decoys on the market, and these other fine brands. Pit Boss Waterfowl, ducks, dogs, and decoys. Canadian Waterfowl Supplies, Canada's #1 source for all your waterfowl needs. And Rig 'em Right, heavily seasoned.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Union 0430 podcast. We've got a great one again tonight, and one that our Canadian listeners are really interested in. And I must say I'm pretty proud of myself that I didn't leak this one. We kept this one under wraps, and so to everybody, to the millions and millions of fans that are out there that are wondering what the hell is happening on this episode, we've got Phil Barker from the Barker Group, who is the owner of Duck Boats Canada, the official, I guess, supplier of Excel and MudBuddy motors in Ontario, right? Just Ontario, or all of Canada?
It's in Ontario, but we ship to all of Canada. I think they have a guy in Quebec, but I mean, we're willing to work anywhere in Canada.
Yeah, awesome. So we're gonna get into that with Phil, and it's gonna be a great show, and one that, anyways, I'm still a little bit flustered from today, so we'll get on to her. So we'll start off the show. Philly's not here today. Philly's at work this evening, so Craig is with us tonight, and both me and Craig actually forgot that we were doing a show today because we were so friggin' busy.
I was going to say, it was kept this one so well under wraps, we forgot about it.
Well, yeah. So if it wasn't for Phil messaging me and going, "Hey, I'm logged in. I'm eating. I'm just got a chance to throw some groceries downrange." And when Phil said that, and I was like, "Oh shit, I gotta go do a show." So, anyways, so Phil, buddy, I guess the best and the easiest thing to do right now is let's just start from the beginning and give us the overview of Duck Boats Canada and the service that you're going to provide.
Sure. So Duck Boat Canada is a company that we just started. It's me and my brother. We've been selling mud motors for a couple of years now, and we decided we're going to take it to the next level, and we're going to service all duck boat accessories and everything that you could need for a duck boat. So right now we're starting with just motors and boats, and we have a few products like blinds and stuff that we're going to be selling as well. And we're going to start expanding to, everything else that you could use in a duck boat. Like eventually we're going to get some calls and some decoys and just waterfowling gear, right? So we plan on supplying mainly waterfowl gear. Being that we're working with Excel Boats, we also have the opportunity to start selling some fishing boats as well. So we're going to be doing that as well. We'll be carrying their full line. So basically we're looking to work with waterfowlers in all of Canada, but more specifically Ontario. Another thing we're going to be able to do is provide service. Or, a lot of guys who run these duck boats, they're not mechanics, right? They don't have the tools, they don't have the skills maybe, or maybe they just don't want to do it, right? So if, you have a boat or a motor that needs repairing or something like that, that's something that we're going to be able to help you out with.
Super exciting, dude. Don't mind me. Everything has gone to shit for me today. Everything's gone to shit for me today. But that's, I would have always said, like, that's an extreme thing to try and take on, right? Like, you're starting a business is a big thing to take on. But when you're talking about your products being boats and motors that are manufactured in the States, there's nobody in Canada that's really doing it. There's a couple people that's selling the boats and the motors in Canada, but there's not a lot. That got to be a very overwhelming undertaking to take on. And now I didn't even think about Excel's fishing boats. And
Right.
now that you've brought that in, like the duck boats are one thing, and we've got a pretty good waterfowl community here in Ontario. But the fishing community in Ontario is out of this world.
Well,
So
It
that's
leaves you
it.
room to expand too, because just doing the waterfowl thing, it's a pretty niche market.
It's definitely a niche market. It's a small community, and it's definitely nice that we're able to do the fishing side as well, because there's only so many waterfowlers in Ontario or even Canada, right? It's only in the hundreds of thousands, but there's millions of people that get their fishing license every year, and even if they're not fishing guys, there's boats there for them too, right? They have recreational boats and fishing boats and river boats and jet boats. Like they have Yamahas, Tohatsus, Mercury engines, like, you know, so it definitely gives us room to expand and stuff like that. We do like to focus on the duck hunting because that's like, it's our hobby, it's our thing, it's where we started. So we want to, make sure that we take care of those customers, but we definitely are looking forward to getting into some of these fishing boats for sure.
Well, on the servicing side too, like that'll be pretty good. Like figure for duck hunters and the stuff that the gear goes through, it's like there's going to be probably a lot of servicing that can be done.
Well, that's it, right? And some of these guys just don't want to do it. Some other people, they like to wrench on their own stuff, right? But some guys, they don't want to do it, right? So if they don't want to put their engine away for the season, they bring it in. We'll winterize it and get it ready to store so that you don't go to start your boat in the spring and you're having problems, or things break down, right? Like especially these duck boats. People beat the hell out of these things. They drive them through the swamp and they want to jump the marsh and all this stuff, right? So when a clutch goes or something like that and they're not familiar with it, we can supply the parts as well as install it for them if they need it, right? So, and it is an overwhelming undertaking. I'll tell you that. It is a ton of stuff. Like I've been busy for weeks just trying to price out all the different boats and options, and it's nonstop, right? But it's good to learn, and once I get a handle on all the products, it'll become much easier.
Yeah.
It is very fitting right now. Like we're talking about the fishing and the duck hunting, right? So I got to hold this mic. I got to get a new mic stand. But right now, like as we're recording this, today is the first day of the Toronto Sportsman Show, right? And for people that are familiar with the brand, like Craig and I and you as well, Phil, like you had a booth there and we were big into the Toronto Sportsman Show. Craig's been going for 30 years.
Right. Wow.
And it's important when you talk about the Toronto Sportsman Show and you get out there, and as duck hunters and waterfowlers, one of the things we always said, or I always said, was that when it came to these outdoor shows, there wasn't a huge draw for waterfowlers at the show, right?
Yeah. Right.
And Craig, we talked about it so many times, when we talk about the success of the Toronto Sportsman Show, and while we're duck hunters, we think we're, king shit at Turd Mountain, but the fishermen, the fishermen and the ladies, like,
man,
that's the bulk of the people that are coming into the Toronto Sportsman Show.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Right? Like this is
recreational
we're
and fishing for sure.
Yeah, man.
Yep.
Like it is huge. So I don't know why I never thought that maybe you would get into the fishing boats. I just thought, well, maybe he's just going to do the duck boats. So it's a brilliant move on your part, because I think that's where you're going. Like, I think if you're going to get rich at this, you're going to get rich on the fishing boats.
Who knows? I may end up selling more fishing boats than duck boats. I mean, there's a good chance. Like, there's a lot more people fishing than duck hunting, that's for sure. And man, the amount of money that people spend on fishing boats, like these guys will go and blow $100,000 on a bass boat, right? Like, so
yeah,
it will be good. It'll round out the business nicely, and it'll make sure that we don't get stale or stagnant or stuck into a corner, right? Like we'll be able to kind of be versatile in the different things that we're doing, right? So,
but that was
especially whereabouts are you guys located?
I'm in Brecken, Ontario.
question.
So we're like on the east side of Simcoe.
Yeah. So you got Simcoe and Couchiching close by, like, and even Lake Ontario is not far.
Georgian
right? So
Bay is right up there, and
good
we got
central
lots,
area.
and Kawartha Lakes is, I mean, the other side of the road for me is Kawartha Lakes, right? I'm right on the border of Simcoe, so there's a lot of fishing going on, a lot of duck hunting too, but fishing is just, it's always more people fishing.
You made a comment there where you said these fellas that are fishing, they spend some big bucks on their boats, right? So and we can get into it, and we can talk about the price of a new Excel and a new MudBuddy, bringing it into Canada and you guys selling it. Like I'm already hearing people saying, "Oh, like, fuck, that's ridiculous to pay that kind of money for a duck boat." But yet you just said it, like the fishermen will drop twice that.
Loads of money, loads. My brother's got like $5,000 in musky lures,
Yeah,
that's before you get into the electronics and everything.
Oh man, don't even start me on that. Holy jeepers!
But I guess to quote Jeff Coates, everything's relative, and that Jeff Coates always says that, right? It's all relative, and it really is, because so I've got my boat ordered. I'm going down next month. My buddy Mark that used to come on the show here with us, he's coming down with me. We're driving down. We're going to go down to Tennessee, pick it up. I'm trying to talk him in. Yeah, do the factory tour. Actually, going to do a podcast at the factory. Yeah. So that's going to be super cool. And I'm trying to talk Mark into right now stopping into Kentucky and buying a cowboy hat. I don't know. You go. I don't know. I don't know how much luck I'm going to have. But I know he's warming up to the idea, though. He sort of gave me a he. What was it he said? I'm pondering it. He. So he didn't give me a flat out no. So we detour a little bit. Go to this one spot that I follow on Facebook and stuff like that. But anyways, see, this is the rabbit holes we get going, because I'll go 20 minutes talking about fucking cowboy hats.
It'll be worth it though, because those guys, they're not cheap, but they get that hat fitting right, and they'll brand them for you, and like you can't buy those things here,
No. So again, keep going, buddy. I down a rabbit hole, and now I've lost my train of thought. This is gonna be such a mess of a show. I can already tell right off the bat. Craig, can you take over for 5 minutes and just take over and run this, for fuck's sake?
I don't know, man. I'm in much better shape today.
Yeah.
Bleeding
the
dogs
is being passed to you.
Forgetting. I was like, I started holidays yesterday, so like I'm confused as shit.
You're just winding down.
Well, and even today we ran into Cabela's to grab a few things, and my wife was saying something. I'm like, it's only Thursday. She thought it was Saturday too, and it's like, today's just been a mess. And I just sat down to eat, and Damien's like, I'll be on the call in a couple minutes. I'm like, well, I'll be there in 10 because I totally forgot.
Right on.
So you guys aren't at the Sportsman Show this year?
We're not doing it this year. We did it last year, and we ended up setting up this deal with Excel and MudBuddy within the last month or two, and we just didn't have time to pull it together for this year.
Yeah.
So
that's a big undertaking.
We decided to just we'll skip this year, and then next year we're going to come in with a bang. We've got some pretty big plans for next year. We're also considering doing the Toronto Boat Show as well, considering that Excel has the fishing thing, right? So if it was just hunting, it wouldn't really be worth it probably to do the boat show. But since they got the fishing boats and the wreck boats, we'll probably be looking at doing the Toronto Boat Show as well. So, but I had a good time at the Sportsman Show last year. We met tons of people and did lots of educating, because not a lot of people had seen mud motors, right? Like we had brought some mud motors in, and everyone was stopping in. Wow, I've never seen anything like this, and so it was pretty cool to educate some other people. And then there was other people that said, hey, we came just to see you. We came to see these engines because there's It's not like you can just walk into a showroom and say, "Oh, I want to see that 40 horsepower MudBuddy. Let me see it." Right. So
yeah,
it
you're
was
not finding them in every shop.
exactly right. So it's next to impossible, really. I mean, there's a few guys in Canada who sell mud motors, but to be honest, nothing like these ones, right? Not like these big 40 horsepower Vanguards, EFIs with forward reverse. There's a lot of long tails and stuff and smaller kits, like a lot of these Chinese kits that people
That's what I was just
import.
going to say, especially the last 5 years, like on Facebook, like a couple of years ago, that was the thing. Everybody was making the kits, like going to Princess Auto and getting the little motors and that, and the kits and everything. So it kind of went through a bit of a fad. And funnily enough, you don't hear about it very much anymore. So
right.
I'm assuming the longevity wasn't there.
Well, it's still there. There's still a lot of people, and I even get a lot of calls from people too that are looking to set up their own boats and stuff. And now that I'm with MudBuddy, they don't really do that. They everything they do is factory assembled. So it's not like you can go to Princess Auto and buy your 212cc or your 420cc and slam it onto a longtail, right? But there is still a good amount of people who want to do that. It's a lot of the guys on a budget, right? Or guys who are just starting out. They're not sure if they're, if they're willing to sink $5,000 into an engine yet, right? So, or they're, I got a lot of kids who are, 18, 20 years old, and it's like, they saved up a few paychecks and they just want to get out there on their tin tippy and
got to start somewhere.
That's it. And that's where I started too. I started out with a 12-foot boat and a 9.9, right? And I was lucky I didn't sink the thing when I was going fast, and then I, hit the brakes and water come over the transom. Right? So, but you got to start somewhere, right? And if you're on a budget, they say it's a high entry fee to get into waterfowl, right? But it doesn't have to be that high. You can go budget, right? You can go out and you can buy a small tin tippy, and you can, put a little elbow grease into it, and you could have a huntable boat, right? Like make your own canopy, make your own blind, and start with the bare minimum. Toss out 20 decoys and you'll shoot a couple birds. You're not going to limit every time, but it's a good way to dip your toe in the water for sure.
Well, that's one thing I know Damien especially has brought up a bunch of times, like, because we'll get talking about stuff, and so he always takes a step back and tells people, it's like, hey, we're talking about this sort of gear, but it's not like that. You don't have to be there, right? You can start somewhere else. You can start lower, but yeah, like with the mud motors and that, it's just they're such a cool thing. And a lot of people, I think, like you said, are just still even kind of discovering them too.
They don't even know
anything about them. Yeah.
A lot of people have no idea about these things. And then, when I was at the show last year, I had a lot of people who were not duck hunters that were pretty interested in it. They weren't ready to pull the trigger on them, but they were like, oh, wow, this would be great. I got a spot that I fish in, and every time I go in there, I clog up my impeller and my engine overheats, and I could really use that. So we're bringing a culture here, right? We're promoting the culture, and in the States, you go to southern states, and they have whole like mud boat crews that go out and they hop up their engines, and it's like a whole culture down there, right? So we're trying to educate people in Canada and bring it to them. It's unfortunate I didn't make it to the Sportsman Show this year, but next year we're gonna hit the ground running and really make a splash there. Bring a couple boats.
Take that time to start it up, right? Too.
Right, and I'm still learning all their products and stuff, right? Like I know all the other products that I used to sell, but just to learn their products, and then that way when I go, I can really, give an honest opinion on them, right?
I think we'll be back next year as well.
Yeah.
Provided that the schedule allows for it. And I know that sounds like kind of a bullshit answer that the schedule just didn't do it this year, but
sure.
It is what it is. And I just couldn't do it, but you're right about the culture. And this is something that maybe you and I can talk about, down the road, but it would be cool to operate sort of a mud boat day, up in your area, right?
I've been talking about it for a while. I've been talking about doing something like that where we do a mud run, we pick a lake, and whoever wants to come, we all launch our boats and bring some barbecues out and cruise the lake and maybe just have some fun. We can all show off our boats and check how everyone else is out, and I've been talking about it for a couple of years, and pretty soon we gotta pull the trigger on that.
Well, yeah, like if you talk about and as a person up here in Canada and obviously on social media all the time and following all these brands and all these people that are south of the border, and you said it, right? Like they've created a culture down there.
It's crazy.
And it is crazy. And I know that we have a ton of people up here that are somewhat envious of that culture, right? They're like, man, why don't we do cool shit like that in Canada? Well, we can.
Yep.
It just takes somebody to start it, right? And then a few people to go. And we can start the culture here in Canada as well.
Absolutely.
And I think what you're doing is exactly what we needed to kickstart that culture here in Canada.
Right. I agree. We gotta, I do the best that I can to promote it and, educate everyone that I can on the topics, on different types of boats and different types of motors and, which ones are better for what and, all this stuff. And then there's definitely a few guys in Canada who are already in the culture. It's just we haven't organized yet, right? Like you got some guys in Canada that are building some pretty cool boats, and pretty cool engines. They're putting the Mikuni carbs on them and they're putting different heads on them, and they're even like they're changing some of the parts out for billet parts, and they're really starting to build some of these up. Like I know a guy, I think you know him, Banks. He built a 22 up to like a 40 horsepower or something like that. It was awesome, that thing. But there's a few guys out there, right, who are starting to do it, right? It's just it was never here before, so it's all new to everybody, right? Like and people look at these videos on the Instagrams and stuff, and they're like, oh wow, like I wish that was here in Canada, right? Which it never was, but now it's coming. It's coming.
It is. Well, it is.
I think it's easy too for people to look at stuff in the States, like, and kind of pick things out and be like, well, we don't have that here. Like you think flooded timber and stuff like that, right? People think that's a southern thing, but it's like, look at the area between, like I'm in Wabashine, so between you and I, there's lots of like flooded woodland and stuff that, like I hunted a spot close by that, it looks similar to stuff you see down south. So same with like the boat and like these types of motors and that. It's like, I think it's easy for people to look and think, well, that's more of a down south sort of thing, but we have opportunities to use that sort of equipment here. We have those types of places here as well.
Absolutely.
And I think it's just something that people just don't think about the usefulness here.
The other thing, and when I had my boat and I had a couple buddies around and they had boats too. And we were hitting local boat launches and stuff like that. And, when they would get over the initial shock of what the motor and the boat looked like, because there was people that were like, what in the fuck have you got here, right? And
then you start your engine on land.
Start your engine. And then, like when Mark would come hunt with me, I would start the engine, get everything ready in the boat. I would sit in the boat or stand in the boat, and Mark would back the truck down, and I'd launch the boat in it with the motor going, and then Mark would just pull up ahead, park the truck the whole bit. So once you got over that initial, questioning of what is that you're using, the next comment would 99% of the time would be, you're able to get down into that corner, eh? Yeah. And I'd be like, yep. And that's right where I'm going. Right. And I know, and I'll talk about Mark, because Mark had done a bunch of hunts with me and here at a local spot that I hit here. And, 9:00 in the morning, Mark and I are headed back to the boat launch, limited out. And fellas are just like, how'd you guys do? And we're like, oh, we're good. We got our limit. We're headed home. We'll be home for breakfast before 10:00, right? Sort of deal. And fellas are like, holy smokes, that's amazing. But that's what these boats allowed you to do, was they're not going to make you better shooters.
No.
And they're not going to put the ducks on your strap, but they'll put you in the location that'll give you the best chances.
Get away from everybody else.
It opens your options up, right? And
absolutely,
you can get to where the ducks want to be. The ducks want to be where nobody can get to. They want to be in that back little swamp that, there's not a 90 horsepower, Yamaha ripping through there, right? Like they They want to be in
That's right.
those tight spots, right? So if you can't get there, you're not going to get on top of them, right? Like, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, and you know, um, I do think I do think that the culture and Craig, we've talked about it on here, and Phil, you're really going to start to notice it now that you're actually, you know, in the community selling something. You've been a duck hunter. You and your brother have been duck hunters for a long time, but now you're really going to start noticing there's a shift in the attitude of what I would call a dedicated waterfowler. And I'm not using the word hardcore because I think that's a word that's way overused right now.
sure.
But a dedicated duck hunter that just gets after it. There's been a shift, and the shift is that people, and I'm not bashing a store, but people aren't going to Canadian Tire and buying their shit anymore.
Right.
People are going to Pat Hendricks at Canadian Waterfowl Supplies. They're paying premium dollars for
Sure.
premium products. And that's the shift that you're seeing. Is it as big as in the States? No, absolutely not. We're at a fraction of the population, but we are witnessing a shift, and it's slow, but it's coming. And I'm certain. And listen, first when me and you started talking 2 years ago, and it was 2 years ago that I introduced you to Randall and Excel, and it's taken this long to pull this together. This is not an easy feat to pull together. And I know because I talked to you, and I know the bullshit and everything that you got to go through to get here. But we are seeing a shift in the Canadian attitude towards spending money for duck hunters. And Craig, we've talked about it. Like, we're seeing it all the time. Not so much Craig, because Craig don't fucking spend any money, but
he doesn't need to.
You get Craig is very frugal. No, I'm just joking, buddy.
Nothing wrong with that.
But no, but you know what I mean? Like, we're seeing this shift, and we're seeing fellas that's starting. So the fishermen that are spending the $100,000, $80,000 on their bass boat, well, now the duck hunter isn't. Well, I got my boat for $40K. I got my boat for $50K.
Right.
You know, it's happening.
Absolutely.
It is. What do you think, Craig? Like, do you agree?
Yeah, like, I think people are willing to spend the money on quality now instead of trying to nickel and dime it and then regretting it and spending ultimately the same amount of money anyways, but just with a lot more heartache. But yeah, I think like people are willing to put that extra into it because, well, like you said, you got to be able to get out there. You got to be able to stay out there. You need that. Like,
sure.
You can, like, again, the big thing's getting out there and just spending the time and putting in the time, but
hours,
you're going to have more success, right? When you know you can rely on your equipment and the price tag comes with that.
Yep. Quality over quantity too, right? So you can go buy a bunch of decoys for, cheap, or you can buy some really good quality and maybe a flapper or, a mojo or something. And then you might do a little better spending a little bit more money on it, right?
Yeah. Well, hell, I had decoys the one time that they got too cold, and when they got too cold, they like sucked in and then cracked. So it's like, well, if I'd spent a little bit extra money on those decoys,
right,
they might not have done that.
Absolutely. What?
And the important thing to take out of this is that, and again, something that we've talked about on this show a million times is, as much as I would love to say and to drum up business for Phil, the most important thing right now is you're getting out. That's the most important thing, is that you're buying your duck stamp and you're actually getting out and you're learning it. The boat will come, trust me, because and this is the logic to my thinking on the boat will come. So if you're not in the position to dump the $50K and buy yourself a boat today, that's okay. That's okay. The important thing is, like I said, you take your half dozen decoys, you throw them over your shoulder, you hop into your canoe, you paddle out, you do your duck hunting. as you continue this growth of being a waterfowler, there will come a time where you're like, this fucking canoe ain't cutting it anymore.
Yeah.
Right? And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with the canoe. There's nothing wrong with the kayak.
Sure.
There's nothing wrong with pond hopping. There's nothing wrong with none of that. But as your level of dedication rises, that's when you start upping your game on your shotgun, your ammo, your decoys, your calls, your boat.
Absolutely.
It'll all come. You know, don't if you're an 18-year-old kid right now, or you're brand new to the passion of waterfowling, the last thing I want anybody to think listening to this show is that I'm going to be a failure unless I go and drop $50K onto a boat.
Exactly.
Because that's the wrong attitude. I want Phil to succeed, and I want him to get filthy rich selling boats.
Me too.
But I also want the people that aren't there yet to know that you can still get out there and you can still get after them. You don't need to spend all that money.
Absolutely.
Just because Damien at 49 can do it.
Right.
But Damien at 29 couldn't do it. I can tell you that.
Well, and the important thing too is get out there, to spend your time getting out there so you can introduce other people to the sport, so that then, you know, your one buddy who has more money than you, he takes up duck hunting, loves it. He decides to buy the boat, and there you go. You stick around and wait for the ride out there in his new boat.
Yep.
I see the method to your madness here, Craig. I see the fucking method. The shitty thing is that Craig makes more money than me, but
oh well, he'll buy the decoys.
No,
I'll grab the coffee in the morning.
Well, that's what I was telling Craig too when you took off there for a second. You know, I started with a 9.9 and a tin tippy. I went out and I spent $500 on some beat up old tin tippy. I printed out a bunch of stencils. I went to Home Depot, I grabbed a bunch of spray bombs, and I sprayed the heck out of that boat. And I got, 20 decoys. I bent up my own canvas out of conduit, and I was lucky that boat didn't overflow. It was a 12-foot tin tibia. Lucky when I hit the brakes, the water didn't come over the back. But I started somewhere, right? And then eventually I said, you know what? I got to get a different boat. I got to hunt with my brother, so we got to get a bigger boat. And then we get a longtail, and we start running those longtails, and we're like, wow, these are great. And a year or two goes by, and we're like, you know what? We got to start looking at surface drives. And then it's like, oh, well, we got a surface drive, but we need reverse now. And, it's like your expectations go up as you go, right? You start growing with it. And then you figure out what's worth investing, right? And, I would never tell somebody who's just learning to waterfowl hunt, oh, you got to go out and buy a 20 grand motor right now. Like, that's ridiculous. And I don't ever want to sell somebody something they don't need. When somebody calls me and they say, oh, I want to get a 40 horsepower and put it on my 15-foot boat, I'll say, whoa. Do you need that?
Yeah.
Do you need that much? Like, you don't need that much. Or if on the other hand, they call me and they say, oh, I got an 18-foot boat and I'm going to put a 15 horsepower longtail on, I'll say, well, you can do it, but you're not going to have that much fun. You're going to be plowing water, and some people don't care. Some people say, oh, my hunting spot's 5 minutes. Don't matter. And other people are like, oh, I got to get on plane, right? So I always try to get the people what they're looking for and what's in their budget and what's appropriate for their boat, right? I'm not going to try and sell you a 40 horsepower when you need a 23, right?
That's right.
And
Phil, I would like to talk a little bit about the process right now. So here we are in March. What are we, 6 months away from duck season opening again, 6-7 months, something like that. And you're going to have, and you and your brother have the opportunity now to have boats in stock and people can pick up the rigs. And I wanted to talk about, the process that I did using you to get my boat, and then as my example, and then I wanted you then to give, well, if you don't want to go the route that Damien went, here's the other way that we could do it. Is that okay?
Yeah, sure. Cool? Go ahead. Yeah.
So just so that everybody knows, my boat's ordered. It's currently being made right now. So I'm in it now. There's no backing out. The boat's being made. I'm in. So, and I'm retired. I'm retired. I don't have a full-time job. So I've got time on my hands. So when I approached Phil and I said, listen, I need to get back into a boat. I sold my boat. It was a huge fucking mistake. And here I am now going back and buying a new boat. So I talked to Phil and I was like, this is what I want. I want this boat. I want this motor. I want these options. And Phil came back to me. He was like, okay, no problem. And actually I think I said to you, I wanted a certain hull. And you were like, I don't think that's the hull you want. I think you want this hull. And I was like, oh, fuck yeah, you're right. You're 100% right. That is, you did pick out.
I think there was a couple of options that weren't available in the hull that you were looking at or something like that.
Yeah,
so, yeah, it was
something like that.
That was early on, but yeah.
So anyways, we picked out the options, picked out the hull, picked out the motor and stuff. And when we started talking numbers, and yeah, there was a little bit of sticker shock there, right? Because I didn't understand just how much shipping costs and tariffs and Excel has to make money on the boat. You had to make money on the boat. Yep. So there was a lot of that. So, initially I was like, fuck, Phil, like, man, that's an expensive boat, right? And then you said, well, Damien, you could go to Tennessee and pick up the fucking boat yourself and save yourself $10K. Yep. And I was like, what? and you explained it all to me, and we talked to the guys down in Excel, and they were like, yeah, man, come down, pick up your boat and save yourself all this money and all this effort and this whole bit. My boat is coming in cheaper. Now, if it comes out to be cheaper in the long run, we'll see after buying fucking cowboy boots and hats down we'll see.
Old school camo cowboy hat.
Yeah, there you go. We'll see how much cheaper this boat is after the trip down to pick it up and stuff. But initially, I'm saving money because I'm driving down, picking up the boat. I'm bringing it across. I'm doing all the customs. I'm doing all the border shit, right? So I'm saving some money there. Now, if somebody didn't want to do that, or they don't have the capacity to do that, they can still contact you, and then you could talk them through the process. So could you explain how that would work for somebody not going to go down and pick up their boat?
Sure. Well, basically, first of all, the duties and the taxes and all that stuff, the brokers and stuff, you're doing that, but I won't be able to do that with most people. So really, if somebody wants to go and save the money on the shipping, I can work with them on that. I can save them the shipping. But in the end, when I bill somebody, I gotta pay the government. So I basically,
that's right.
If someone wants to do that, like, you're setting up all the brokerage and you're getting it all ready yourself on your end, but I will be taking care of that even if somebody goes to pick up their own boat right now.
Well, so, and the other caveat that we got to add to that is that I own a business and I can run it all through the business.
Exactly.
So that's an important thing.
That's
because I'm
mostly
saving,
why.
Yeah, that's mostly why is because I can save a nice bit of taxes by running it through my business.
You're bringing it in as a business, not as personal, right? When you bring it in as personal,
that's right.
You're paying more in taxes, as opposed to when you're a business and you order things from the States, you pay a different rate, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Basically, the way the process is going to work, I'll kind of give you the whole process from start to finish. If somebody calls me and they're looking for a boat, the first thing I ask is, have you gone and checked out the website? Have you gone and checked out the Excel website and the MudBuddy website? Do you kind of know what you're looking at? If they say yes, I say, okay, let's proceed from there. If they say no, I say, okay, what are you going to do with the boat? Are you going to be hunting swamps? Are you going to be out in big water? Are you going to be fishing half the year and a couple duck hunts? Or what's your deal, right? So I'll sit there and I'll chat with them for 10, 15 minutes about what they want and what they need out of a boat, right? After that, we start looking at options, right? And I give everyone a custom price. That's why a lot of people ask me, they say, oh, do you have a website? And I say, no, I can't, because the dollar's changing every day. The tariffs are like, who knows what's going on with any of that stuff, all the politics, and like, I just can't keep up with it. For the mud motors, I'm able to nail down a solid price. But when it comes to the boats, everything is different. So the way we're doing it is we're bringing in custom boats for people, right? We're probably at some point, we're going to bring in a couple hulls to keep in stock. But the way I think Canadian customers want it is everyone wants their own customized boat. Some people want the winch. Some people want the spud poles. Some people want the higher light packages, or they want the fancy seats or the fancy floors, or so everything is custom. So after we figure out what model boat you're looking at, I'll give you the prices of all the options. Every option that's available, I'll give you a price for it, like the sheet that I sent you the other day. That'll all be there. And then you can pick and choose which options you want, and we start tallying it up. If you're wanting me to bring everything in, which is most people are going to want me to bring everything in, right?
That's right.
I'll give them a price that includes everything landed at my house. So it'll include the boat, the extras, the motor, the shipping, the brokerage, all the taxes, and even up to the trailer registrations and stuff. Like, it's going to be a full service shop, right? So if people are looking to save a little bit of money and they want to drive to the States and pick up their own boat, that can be arranged too. And, you can save a good, I don't know, let's call it $5,000, just in driving it there, right? So that's pretty much the process, like a short version of the process, right?
Well, and the other thing, and I'll tell you this from when I bought my first boat. So when I bought my first Excel, I bought it from a dealership out of Michigan. And so this dealership, so this dealership at the time was selling Banks boats out of Port, where is it? Port, down where Jaden Banks is, down at Long Point, that area.
Oh yeah, Long Point, yeah.
So they were building boats at the time. So they were sending boats down to this dealership in Michigan. So when their truck went down, they picked up my boat and brought it across for me. So they just did the shipping for me, right? Now, I had a broker, and my broker down at that end, it took care of all the customs and all of that stuff, right? So the boat gets to wherever, and then my buddy Steve Segulik, he goes and picks it up from Banks. He drives it to Mississauga. Myself and Mark drive down to Mississauga, pick the boat up. I bring it back to Kingston. Now, the important thing, and this is where I'm going with this, and to play into what you were saying, Phil, when you say a full service. So when I paid for the customs, I thought I was good then. There was nothing else.
Yep.
Well, I tell you what, walk into the registration, motor vehicle registration, and try to get a plate for your new trailer. And they're going to look at you and they're like, you can't register that trailer here. What are you talking about? Why can't? It's a brand new, it needs to be safety. Yep. It's a brand new trailer. Don't matter. It's not, we don't know that it's up to Canadian standards. And I can tell you this, and I don't really care. People can get mad at me. I can tell you this. The only place in Kingston that would do that safety on that trailer was at Canadian Tire. It took the dude longer to write the VIN number out than what it was for him to do the inspection of that fucking trailer.
Yep.
And it cost, I'm pretty sure that cost me like $200.
Oh, it's something like that.
And, and that's an extra $200 on top of everything else that I do, because I was just getting dinged with $200 here and $200 there and $50 for this. And I'm just constant. And I was just getting so fed up. And to know now, after talking, I knew that you were going to do this, but talking to you, a few months ago, and you were saying, well, this is what you were going to do. I just thought to myself, I was like, fuck, what a sigh of relief it is for me, knowing that anybody new that's going out and buying a boat, they're not going to get that shock of, hey, listen, well, you're not getting your plate today, because you got to go get an appointment to get your trailer inspected.
I think they call it an RIV or something imported vehicle inspection or something like that, right? But
Yeah.
well, you actually had told me about that, and then I looked into it, and sure enough, right, I called Service Ontario. So basically, if you were gonna go pick your own boat up, you will have to deal with that. That's something that, same way you're gonna have to deal with that when you come back into Canada. You're gonna have to present a RIV registration form, which is like $75. And then you have 30 days from when you cross the border to take your vehicle, get it inspected, and then register it with Service Ontario. So basically, I can do everything up until the registering it with Service Ontario. But when you go to do that, like you guys know, when you register a vehicle with Service Ontario, you got to pay the taxes, right? So with these things, you will carry the paperwork that from me, like all the invoices, and that will show my HST number, and that will show you've already paid the taxes on it. So you might have to pay for the plate or something, right? But you're not going to have to pay the taxes on it when you go to register it. So basically, if I bring it in and you're picking it up from me, I'm going to go take care of all that registration or the inspection stuff. And then basically when I give you the boat, you take it to Service Ontario and get your plate put in your name, right? Otherwise, it wouldn't make sense. I could put it in my name and then you'd have to change it again. It doesn't make sense. That would just cost the customer another whatever. Whatever the license plate costs. Yeah. So, like you said, dish it out, right? Couple $100 at a time.
That's right. It's, and maybe some people are listening to this and they're like, well, man, like, come on, like this is getting expensive now. And listen, again, you're getting a premium product, and you want a premium product, you're going to pay a premium dollar for it. And if you want to play, then you got to pay. And fuck, I sounded like Phil. I sounded like Philly saying that, didn't I? If you want to play, you got to pay. That's a Philly fucking stick. No, but it's right. So I think the way you're structuring that whole process, for a guy or a girl that's looking to do this purchase, and if they're busy, if they have a busy lifestyle, dude,
well, if you just have no idea to expect all of that either.
Well, and that's the other thing, right?
Yep. They wouldn't even know. Like you said, it was a surprise for you, right?
Yeah.
But you're right. It is a premium product, right? And these are not cheap boats. I do understand that. And I've been selling motors for a while now, and I've worked with guys with budgets, that start at $1,000 all the way up to, $30,000 they want to put into a duck boat, maybe 40. If you can't afford one of these expensive boats, you don't have to buy one. You can go and buy an old bass tracker, which we did this last summer. Me and my brothers, we found a bass tracker online for, I think it was $3,000 with the trailer. They came with a 30 horsepower motor on it. We pulled the motor, sold the motor, stripped all the decals off it. We painted it all green. We added a couple cabinets, and we threw a mud motor on it. And, the budget on that one was, I don't know, maybe 5 to 10, depends what motor you put on it. But really, you can find an old bass tracker, which is a Mod V, 16 by 48, almost like a John boat, but it's a Mod V. And you could make it happen for a budget. You don't have to go and spend 40, 50 grand. It's like, you can get out there and catch some crappie or some bass in a tin tippy. You don't have to buy a $100,000 bass boat, but some guys want it. Some guys want to put that money out, and they want to be comfortable, right?
Here's the other thing, Phil, with that. It's fine for you and your brothers to go out and find that boat and do all that work. You and your brothers are very, very capable of handling something like that and making sure that it's good to go and it's safe and it's going to work the way you want it to. So I guess my point is that if somebody, is listening to this and they're like, oh, fuck, $50,000 for a fucking duck boat, I can go buy a bass tracker for $3,000. Okay, well then go do it.
For sure.
Go do it. If you can do it, if you have that capability to go turn that $3,000 boat into what you need
to be a
duck.
Yeah. We love to see it, man. We love to see it.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Or what's more likely is the person's going to take that on, and then that
Craig?
project's going to sit in their driveway for 3-4
Well,
years. And
that's what would happen if I done it.
Right.
If I did it, that's what I would get to a point where I'm no longer comfortable.
Sure.
And I'm the type of fella that, well, I'm not going to ask anybody to come do it because everybody's fucking busy and I don't need them taking time away from their family to come and help me pick apart a fucking boat or whatever. But like Brian Hallbly, who's a good buddy of mine and of ours, and he's down in Pennsylvania, like that's what he's doing. He's building his own. But Brian's the type of dude that can do it.
Yep.
Right.
And even he's like, it took longer. It took more than he was expecting. And you don't know what you're going to run into.
But he's not. But the other thing is that Brian's not in a rush. So if it takes him 2 more years to build this boat, it takes him 2 more years.
Sure.
No skin off his ass, right? He don't care.
For sure.
And
doing that, you can appreciate why some of these boats are the price that they are too. Once you start, wrenching on these boats and you start fixing them up and painting them, and it's like, oh, that paint's not sticking. How come? Well, because you didn't buy the expensive paint, or how come this boat's so heavy, and how come there's 100 different things. It's we're chipping over each other, or you start to realize why these things are so expensive. Like the MudBuddy motor specifically. I've sold a bunch of surface drives, and when I first started selling these MudBuddies, we were like, man, these things are $3 and $4 grand more expensive. They're 25% more expensive than some of the other brands. And once we got a few of them, we started looking them up and down. We go, oh, well, that's why. We can see why. They come with battery cables that are way thicker than the other battery cables. They've got a surge protector on them, 120 amp surge protector. If you accidentally, your battery touches the boat, you don't fry your ECM on your boat, or, you start looking at the quality of the build and how they do their cable management and just the options and stuff. You go, oh, well, that's why it's 25% more than some of the other. But you look at the propellers on the MudBuddies, and they're like $650 American for some of these props. And then you look at them compared to some of the other brands, and you go, wow, that's why they're heavy duty, and they put the R&D into them. These guys spent, I imagine, hundreds of thousands just testing and making different versions, easy. And they just put a ton of time into R&D when it comes to their products, right? So you can see why they're more, and I understand people are on a budget, but you know what? There is other brands out there. If you're on a budget, they make DIY kits. You order the kit, it comes to your house, and you go slam a Princess Auto 420cc on it, and you're good to go, right? Like, so it's, I do wish that I could work with some of those guys still, because the MudBuddy stuff is higher end, and I am missing some of the clientele on the lower end of the budget. But right now, it's that's just what it is. But I've worked with all of the different grades, right from the bottom to the top. So and they're all there for you.
Yeah, and great point. And I guess my biggest thing, Phil, is that what I'm trying to do here, and Craig knows this, and Craig and I share the same opinion on a lot of things. It's actually fucking scary. But the worst thing that that friggin' just drives me absolutely batshit crazy is when people look complain, like, and we talked about it earlier, the Toronto Sportsman Show. Like, how many years have we heard people chime in on online and say,
I was back at it again today already.
What's that?
I was back at it again today already. People are complaining.
Yeah, people are complaining. Well, Toronto Sportsman Show is shit. Well, when was the last time you were at the show? Well, 10 years ago.
Right.
You're fucking complaining for the sake of complaining. So, listen, if you have no intentions on buying the boat, then don't fucking say nothing. If the boat is too expensive, no harm.
Yep.
Then
I don't get offended, man.
Because my first duck boat I bought was a Lund friggin' John boat with a 15 horsepower Merc on it, and then I upgraded into a used MudBuddy longtail which was such a bad idea, because I had to weld pods onto the back of it because the weight of the motor on that transom. It was a wonder I didn't ever tear that transom off. And then, I graduated to an Excel and a surface drive. but there's been a lot of steps for Damien at 49. There's been a lot of steps for me to get to where I am right now.
Progression. Yep.
Yeah. Yep. Listen, man, there's not a lot of people out there that can just dump $50K on a boat. It takes years of building it up and buying something, selling it, flipping it,
Yep.
and
that's
putting
what I
that
did.
money away. Right? Yeah.
Keep flipping motors and,
Yeah. So my biggest thing to come out of this show is really just to educate, and I don't want to sound like the people are stupid. That's not what I'm saying. It's just to give you an appreciation for why it's at this point, why it's at this price, why it makes sense to go and buy this as opposed to something else. Does that make sense?
Oh, absolutely. And I have no problem talking with anybody too, man. Like, I get probably a couple people a week who call me, and eventually we'll get to the point where they say, oh, it's not in my budget. And I say, no problem, buddy. Call me anytime. Yep. I'll sit there and I'll chat duck boats with you. We'll talk about 15 horsepowers, or we'll talk about longtails, or we'll talk about other companies. I've had people call me and say, oh, what do you think about this? And I got no problems chatting with people, even if they're not going to buy. There's no obligation to buy when people call me. I enjoy talking to them, and I enjoy helping make sure that they don't buy something they don't need. Right.
Well, and that's a huge thing too. Cause it's like, for me, a lot of times, like, it's almost like that paralysis by analysis thing, right? Like, I want to know that, like, if I'm spending the money, that I'm getting the right thing. That's first of all, it's going to work. It's going to be quality, and it's going to be what I want. So, like, when you were saying that, like, it was cool to hear the process of, like, basically, I didn't realize it's like, if you're buying one, it's basically custom, or it is custom, because it's like,
it is.
If you're spending that kind of money, like, for me, like, if I get to the point where I'm buying that boat, I want it to be what I need. Otherwise, you could go a cheaper option, but then it's like, well, now I got to buy this to kind of retrofit to the boat to make it what I want. And then, and again, you're just building back up to that same price tag eventually anyways, or something that's not working properly, or more of your time.
I tell you what, there was some surprises on me when I sent Phil my initial, I want this, I want this, I want this. And my dream list. And I had put down, these are the things that I got. And that was, I think I even said, I was like, Phil, I need to have these things on the boat. And when he started breaking down the price of each one of those items, I was like, well, that can
maybe
go.
Not.
Yeah, I don't need that.
Maybe we don't need that, right? Maybe we don't need a 3,000 pound winch. Right?
Yeah. Like, there was all this shit that I had plugged in there. I think my boat is coming as bare ass as it could come, which I want. Like, I'm getting the pro hull, so no cabinets or nothing like that. But the only thing I added to two things I added to my boat. I added the Excel bow light, because I want a good light on the front of the boat. And I added the spud pools. That's it. Everything else was all, well, it's nice to have, but I didn't need it, right? And once I started seeing how quickly that started added up, Phil would be like, Damien, do you really need that winch? And I'm like, well, I want the winch. And he was like, well, do you need it $1,000? Do you need that winch $1,000? And I'm like, right. Yeah. I guess not. Yeah, maybe not, right? So,
well, and like you said too, with more people kind of getting into the willingness to spend the money on products, I think again, people are they're putting in more research. Like, everything's at your fingertips to learn and to read up on stuff. So I think, like, people want to have the information, they want to know the product, and it's not, people are willing to spend the money, but I think more and more people aren't just throwing money at a brand or a label or something like that. Like, it's, and like that's the thing for me. It's like, like, I like this turkey vest, but do I need a $400 turkey vest because it's for the sake of having it, sort of thing, right? Like, is it going to function?
Granddad used to hunt in the flannel, like, he didn't need a turkey vest, right? So, do you want it? Do you have to have it? It would be nice, but it's if you're willing to put out the money, right? And it's like, you can't buy everything, man. We'll go broke, right?
Yeah. Or it's like, you could spend 50 grand on this brand or 50 grand on this brand, but where's the differences lie? Like, what's actually going to give me what I want for that money, sort of.
One thing I do encourage people to spend the money on, which I most of the time I don't encourage people. I don't say, oh, you got to spend the money on. One thing I do say is don't put an underpowered engine on your boat. Okay.
Yeah.
Because I've seen it time and time again.
You're just going to be disappointed.
They'll be disappointed. And then in the end, they're going to pay more anyways, because that engine's going to work harder and it's going to stress the engine. It's going to stress the kit. It's going to stress the boat. And then when you got to take your nice brand new Vanguard in and have it worked on because, you know, you were plowing in it like a tugboat, you're not going to be happy. So if, you know, an engine's 2,000-3,000 more and you're going to get an extra 15-20 horsepower out of it, sometimes I say, listen, man, spend it now or spend it later, and you're still going to be disappointed later. And some people say, oh, I'll hop it up and I'll put a carb on it and I'll squeeze some extra horsepower. You can do those things. Okay. There's nothing wrong with that, but it's harder horsepower on your engine. You know, at that point, if you're going to throw another 1,500 into it, just throw it into the stock engine. And then if you need more out of that stock engine, buy a 35 horsepower instead of a 23. Right. And believe me, you'll thank me later. So I've had to tell, like, you know, I burst some people's bubbles here and again, you know, when they're like, oh yeah, I want to put a 23 on it and I can't really afford the 35 or the 40 horsepower. And I say, well, you know, you put that 23 on a 16-foot boat, you're going to be chugging and you're going to be slow and your engine's going to be working harder. And it's not going to end well. So that's one thing that I tell people is get the right engine for your boat. I'm not necessarily going to push the biggest, best one that you can get, but just get the right one. And one thing I do tell people is on the back of a boat, there's usually a plate, right? It's a U.S. Coast Guard plate. It'll say maximum horsepower. I always tell people for mud boats, that means recommended horsepower. So if you got a 16-foot boat that says maximum 40 horsepower, you got to put a 35 or a 40 on that thing. If you throw a 23 on there or a 25, you're going to be chugging. It's recommended horsepower is what I tell people. Technically, we're not supposed to tell people to go over that horsepower, but I say try to get as close to that horsepower as you can. If it's max horsepower 25, go with a 23 or a 25. Don't go with a 14 or something, right? Because you're going to chug. So that's one thing that I always ask people right away. They say, oh, I have a Lund 1648. I say, what does the plate say? What does that plate say? Does it say 40 or does it say 25? You know? Right. So.
No, all good points, man. This is my last little bit of advice that I'm going to put out there for the duck hunters. And specifically the duck hunters that are looking at buying a MudBuddy motor. Take it from this guy. See all this gray? This happened for a reason. At 4:30 in the morning, when you're setting fucking decoys up, and when you were buying your motor and you said, I'm not going to spend that $1,000 to get the reverse, I'm telling you, you are going to lose your goddamn mind when you're picking up decoys and setting decoys in the dark.
Doing circles.
And you're doing circles. And and God help you if you're doing it by yourself.
Oh yeah.
If you're buying a MudBuddy motor and spend the extra money and buy the fucking reverse.
It's a great feature.
I promise you, it is well worth it, because anybody that's been in the boat, that was in my boat with me, they have heard me curse and swear so much trying to get fucking decoys, and me going around and around and around in a circle 20 times to pick up a dozen decoys.
Your last one, did that have the reverse or was that an HG?
No.
Okay.
It was a 4400. It was a Black Death, 4400 Black Death. No, and great HD, motor. Yeah. The motor was amazing. Fast, did everything but it didn't have reverse. And I'm telling you, I cursed every day. I had to fucking
just picturing like a cartoon, just going by. Oh, missed it again.
Oh yeah,
and that was exactly how it was. That was exactly
even worse with a longtail. Holy jeepers!
Oh, and I done it with a longtail. I did it with a longtail on my first boat.
Yeah.
And then it's not pretty.
Once you have the reverse, you do get spoiled. I'll tell you that. It's, and
Yeah,
these
big
a
time.
bunch of these new ones actually, the HDRs, they have a button on them. It's called a pulse button. So when you
Hmm.
hit this pulse button, it turns the prop like 3 or 4 times. So you
Yeah.
don't have to kick the gear over. Like, you know, when
Yep.
you hit the gear and then it kind of jumps you forward and stuff. So that's another good thing for picking up decoys when you go for the HDR versus the HD, the one that just has a neutral clutch.
Yeah.
You know,
Well,
you
no,
get the,
I used to have that little bump on mine, like
Mhm.
on my
Oh, did you?
normal
Okay.
one without. Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
You could just, and we would just say, yeah, we just called it the bump button,
Oh,
and you
okay.
just give that
Yep.
little, you just gave the toggle a little switch,
Yep.
and it would
Okay.
just kick it. The
So
most
I guess,
That's
important
cool.
thing is
I guess they've
don't
had
be
that one for a
standing.
while then.
Yeah, don't be standing on the deck, and
You're right.
somebody do that. Yeah, because you're going overboard,
For
pretty
sure.
quick. Oh yeah, big
Al-
time.
Also,
Um,
the other thing that comes with those ones is automatic trim too. That's a nice feature as well. When did yours have a manual trim?
yes.
Yeah. So on the HDRs, the ones with reverse, they also have the auto trim. So it's a
Oh,
hydraulic trim, right? So while you're
sexy.
driving, you can adjust the trim to get your plane just perfect, right?
Yeah, yeah. No,
Yeah.
no,
Nice.
no. I had that. I
Sure.
had
Oh,
that.
okay. So you had that.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I could adjust the trim while I was driving
Right.
the whole bit.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Right.
Um, Phil, buddy, that's about an hour, and I, if it seems like you could keep going. And I hate to cut you off, but maybe I guess, maybe the spring or early part of the summer, you come back on, get an update on how everything's going. Maybe by then we've talked about getting together and doing a mud run or something. Maybe we can update some people on some things.
Absolutely.
Um, but yeah,
Part two.
we could. Yeah, let's do a part two, man.
Right
So,
on.
so usually what we do is we'll just do a quick around the table, get some final words in, and then we'll end her there. So, Craig, to you, my man.
Not much. Phil, it's great chatting with you, and
Absolutely.
look forward to kind of seeing how business ramps up for you and everything.
Yep. I'm looking forward to
I
it.
talked, I talked Craig into buying a dog. I'll work on him buying a.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you
I'll
go.
work on him buying a boat now.
Yeah.
This
Okay.
is.
Nice.
I'm just saying, man. I'm just saying. Cam and
I,
Caleb would
I
fucking
do have
love a
all this
boat.
water close by.
It's
Yeah, you
nice to
do.
have two boats out there. I'll tell you that. You know, like when we go out and we hunt with two boats, it's always good to have a backup, eh? Like things happen out there, or sometimes even if one spot's doing good and the other one's not, we'll say, "Oh, you guys hit your limit. Let's swap spots." Or it's always nice to have teams
Mm-hmm.
out there. So I
Yeah,
always recommend
absolutely.
it. Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely. Um, Craig, did you have anything else, buddy?
No, that's good.
No. Phil, last word to you, my man.
Cool, man. Well, I definitely appreciate you guys having me on and helping us get the word out there. And I appreciate all the support you've given us. You know, Damien, you definitely helped me out and put me in the right rooms and on the right phone calls with people. And I definitely appreciate all the support you give me, man. Like, we're just starting this whole endeavor, and the hardest part is getting out there, man. So things
Yeah.
like this really help. And, we really look forward to working with everybody. So the last thing I'll say is just, anyone can feel free to call me, man. Like if you're worried about, oh, I can't afford a boat or, maybe in a couple of years, just give me a call. You're not obligated to buy. I'll sit there and we'll chat about ducks but we always get off topic too. Well, and oh, this guy, you're from this area, you know, don't hesitate to call me because, a lot of people, I think a lot of people don't call because they're just like, oh, I don't want to get pressured into buying or these
Right.
type of things. And it's not like that at all, man. Just give me a call. Let's chat about some boats and, it's no big deal if you're not buying. Like, I'm open to discuss whatever with any duck hunters and all that stuff. It's no pressure, man.
No, buddy,
Absolutely.
you're a good human being. And listen, an important lesson I'm that I've taught my kids was that sometimes I can get you in the door, but it's up to you to do all the work, right? And don't I didn't do nothing, brother. That all of this is all you and your brother. You guys put the blood, sweat, and tears into it, and I'm happy to do it. And actually, and Craig would know this. I probably the best feeling I ever get is knowing that I've helped somebody to get something and to start something up. Like there's no greater feeling for me than that. So I was happy to do it. I'm happy to buy the first boat from you.
Number one.
And number one, buddy. And I can't wait. I can't wait to see where you go, because I know you're going to blow this out of the water. And yeah, I can't wait. Listen, this show started off really rocky, and I don't think you need to be a brain surgeon to figure out why I had to leave in a fast hurry, but I got back. Thanks everybody for tuning in for another episode of the Union 0430 podcast. Listen, we're not experts, and we'll never pretend to be experts. We're a group of friends that love hanging out and talking anything duck hunting. Big love. Surround yourself with good people, and we'll see you next time.
Awesome.
Don't go. Don't fucking log off yet.